guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog is the holiday edition cozy reads vlog, which I'm so excited about. That's right, today I'm going to be putting up Christmas decor, which I have already started, but I have so much left over there. I'll give you guys an overview. But before we dive into that, first, let's talk about my TBR. Well, I have a lot of books per usual because I am trying to hit the 100 book mark for this year. First off, and my primary book is going to be Thistlefoot. This is like a weird, whimsical fantasy story about two siblings who have an inheritance of a sentient house on chicken legs. It's full of Eastern folklore and it's set in America. I really think I'm going to love it. I also really want to start The Hand of the Sun King. This is a book that was recommended to me and I've been told numerous times that I'm going to love it. It's about a young man who's basically kind of torn between two worlds, the world of his mother and the world of his father. His father is a part of the empire and he's very like sold into that government. The magic that exists there versus the legacy of his mother is that of rebellion and wild magic, and he's kind of deciding between the two at the beginning of this book. And then lastly, I am still in the middle of Cibola Burn by James S.A. Corey. I'm obsessed with this book. I'm listening to the audiobook, so I'm sure I will listen to a bit more of this throughout this week as well, but my primary reads are these two. It is currently Tuesday, and my big goal for this week is to decorate for the holidays. I actually have a lot of work to do this week, but I feel like a good way to unwind is to do one of my favorite things, which is decorate. Again, I have already started a bit with the tree, but let me flip you around. I still have all of this to deal with. I need to pack up all the Halloween stuff, finish unpacking all the Christmas stuff, set up my village. I also bought a second tree and I've decided to become a two-tree household. So while this tree is technically done, it's actually moving to another room and I'm gonna be decorating a whole another tree for this front room. I wanted a tree for this room because this is where we watch TV and I thought it would be really cozy in here as well. There's Millie being all nice and comfy. But that's the plan for this week. The best 1-2 punch in the game. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. I'll be taking no rebuttals. Absolute slam dunk. Sorry, I have not been vlogging. I have had an electrician here for the past like 3.5 hours because we swapped in a light fixture and we added a switch, which is actually kind of a big deal because we have an older house. So like running electricity in our house is not easy. But let me do the grand reveal because it's all done. Oh wait, you really can't tell because it's on. New switch in action. I need to clean this. But this is what it looks like. It's like a, what is this material? It's like kind of like a paper lantern-esque style light. It can be dropped down as a pendant, but I kind of mounted it closer to the ceiling to be more of a flush mount. I don't know, I just liked how organic it looked. We're just kind of going with it in terms of aesthetics of this room. It obviously provides a lot of light. I'll show you during the day. I feel like you'll be able to tell better. It's not really, how it's showing up on camera is like brighter. It's really a nice soft glow. Got new shoes, hello, which immediately made me just get dressed in this outfit like I'm going somewhere, but I'm not. Also, I do plan to read tonight. I haven't had a chance to do any reading today at all. It's just too busy of a day. But I'm gonna make dinner. We're gonna watch Lord of the Rings. We started the second movie, The Two Towers, and then I'm gonna start Thistlefoot, and I could not be more excited. All right, it's easy dinner time. I'm just going to wash and slice these potatoes. I already have some chicken in the oven, and then I'm also gonna roast some green beans because I just wanna put everything in the oven. You know, it's just one of those kind of nights. Dinner is served. Finished the Two Towers, so we are officially making very good progress in our Lord of the Rings Extended Edition rewatch. But now I'm getting to bed early because I want to get a good chunk of Thistlefoot read because I haven't had the chance to read not even a singular page today, and I don't like that. I usually do a big chunk of reading in the morning and then a little bit in the evenings, but I just didn't have time this morning as I had a doctor's appointment, so I just feel like I feel when I can't get reading in, I always feel like a little disoriented. So I carved out like an extra long amount of time tonight. So I'm hoping to read about 60 or so pages before I fall asleep. Reading at night just makes me sleepy, like no matter what time I start. But I'm really excited to pick up Thistlefoot because I really feel like I'm going to love it, as it really does center like folklore, and I feel like it's going to be a strange and unusual story, which I tend to just love so much. But I'm gonna stop talking, get to reading, because I feel a little behind. Good morning, everyone. I read 90 pages of Thistlefoot last night. I feel like I owe you an update. I'm gonna read a bit more. Enjoy this cup of coffee, but so far so good. Also, the construction of the book is so beautiful. Random, but just like such a lovely, the pages are such a nice weight. Hi everyone. So I have a second and I'm going to do a reading update for Thistlefoot. I've read 100 pages. Most of that I read last night. I plan to read more this afternoon, but I just had a busy morning and I have like a busy day. So I'm trying to be really focused and not sneak away too much to do reading, but so far so good with this book. What's interesting is it's what I expected, but also not what I expected, both in a good way. In the story, we are essentially following two siblings, and we read from both of their points of views. First, we have Valentine, who is a young woman and a woodworker. She lives in Vermont and like really enjoys her quiet life. And then we also follow her brother Isaac, who is a con man and pickpocket. And these two siblings have not really seen or spoken to each other in 6 years. At the beginning of this book, they receive a very strange inheritance from the shores of Russia from like a long ago ancestor, and that is a sentient house on chicken legs. This world appears to be pretty much exactly like our own. It's also set in modern times, like current day, and one, that was surprising. For some reason I thought it would be set in the past, but it's not. And two, it seems like the world is pretty much just like our own, except that houses and places can become sentient. So the fact that the house is on chicken legs is rare, but not necessarily an impossibility that they have to hide, if you know what I mean. So these two siblings kind of come crashing back into each other's lives with the inheritance of this house, and Valentine immediately falls in love. She wants to live here. She just sees a future for herself in this place. And Isaac kind of cooks up a scheme where she can kind of work off his half of the mortgage so she can own it in full. But everything is kind of derailed because with the arrival of this house, like a dark figure also arrives on the shore. And this long shadow man basically can bewitch people with potions to accelerate their anger, and then they come out of this stupor after doing something horrible and not even remember what happened. And he's sort of like infecting the land, and he's also after this house and these two siblings. Another element of this book is that the siblings seem to have some type of magical power. It's a little vague. It's not like magic school vibes by any means, more like just like a strange ability that they both have, and they're kind of murky in terms of how they work and the origins of them themselves. Isaac is much more clear. He can kind of like transform into other people, and this also is definitely like a manifestation of a lot of his insecurities about himself, as he doesn't really like to face who he is, so he often escapes into becoming other people. And then Valentine has something to do with fire, though we don't have a lot of details about it yet. The siblings have a very complicated relationship, and a lot of that is being explored, but I do feel like the action and the anxiety surrounding this mysterious figure pretty much like keeps this book moving quickly right out the gate. And there's also like other characters that are being kind of introduced. I think this book being set in modern day was surprising, but I definitely feel like it works. This feels kind of like a dark fantasy story, like in some aspects vicious, but very different than vicious, but in some ways similar. But it has such a strong like folklore leaning vibe. Like the author's definitely proving that you can create atmosphere and like a fairy tale folklore-esque story, but in modern day. Like it's interesting and it's working so far for me like very well. Structurally too, the chapters are really short. We also have these like intermission chapters, and sometimes we even get chapters from the house itself. I just find the book so far to be like quirky, but very dark, and it took me right away, and I feel like I'm reading it quickly. Also, this hardcover is stunning. The pages are like really nice and weighty, you know, and that I appreciate too. That's unrelated to the narrative quality, but it's related to my reading experience. So I hope to read hopefully like another 100 or so pages today if I'm very, very productive, as I'm trying to be. I feel like I can carve out the right amount of time to do so. But that is my reading update, and I will check in with you guys in a little bit because I have to get to work. Round 2 of the classic. Hello friends, it's finally time to start decorating for Christmas, or rather finish up decorating with the stuff I already have, but let's give you an overview of where we're at. Oh, I have this bucket of stuff. This is like empty Christmas ornament shenanigans. As I've already mentioned, I am getting another tree. So while I have a tree up right now, we're gonna have a round 2 situation. So I have stuff in here, I have some Christmas pillows there, and then I have all of my like Christmas village little houses here, and I need to arrange them somewhere else. I have this beautiful dried floral arrangement, which I'm thrilled to have. I have this gold foil tree, which I got from Target last year. I think it's really fun. I'll probably actually leave this around here because I like it. And here we have a tree, which does not look bad at all. And I'm thrilled to actually move this into the TV room because I think that'll be really fun in there. And then I have some stockings hung, and I got this from Target this year. It's one of the few new things I bought. I need to put batteries in it, but it does light up. I think it's really cute. I really love Christmas Village vibes, so I'm trying to encompass that. I think to add some spice to the mix, I'm gonna add these 2 Christmas pillows in here. I love this. It's like a little candy pillow, and then this is like an advent calendar pillow. Love. And I think a lot of this front room is for the most part done, so let's go and do the bulk of the other room. So this is the room that needs the love, and there's Millie. I already have this Christmas blanket, which I bought from Anthropologie this year. I love it. It reminds me of something I feel like I'd find at my grandma's house. And then I think I'm gonna put my new gingerbread man pillow over here, I think that is just absolutely adorable. But the big task is I'm gonna put my Christmas Village stuff up here, so I gotta make space. This is where we're at with my little porcelain Christmas Village. This is cross-stitched from my grandma. Also kind of cleaned up down there a little bit. I have some more stuff to put up, so let's keep going. In the kitchen, we're keeping it real simple. I have just like a candy jar, and that's a candle. I have a little towel, and then I have this gingerbread cookie jar. Isn't that just incredible? I have going on in the dining room, just that dried arrangement, and these little like gingerbread houses I got at Target, and a Target candle, which I will not burn near this dried arrangement. And then I have this tinsel tree, which I think I've already shown, and then this candle house, which I got from Anthropologie. It's well into the evening, and I am gonna start dinner soon, but first I'm gonna have an evening libation, let's call it. So let's put that together. And the libation of choice is coffee topped with whipped cream. Delish. And I'm also gonna do a bout of reading with my coffee before, again, I make dinner. To chop, today we're making a quick, easy dinner of bean enchiladas. Ready to go into the oven. So many pans, but this will roast for like 15 minutes. Voila. Also, while that was cooking, Clay and I hung our other Miyazaki print. We already had Totoro, and we also got a Kiki's Delivery Service poster framed. And they're so cute! And just like that, Girly and I are in bed. I did read to page 150 before dinner, and I'm really liking this book. There's a performance element, specifically like a puppeteering element, which I find to be really an interesting part of this book. Kind of gives an old world charm to a book that is set in the modern age. Like, it kind of feels ageless in its own way, but it definitely is modern at the same time. And I actually think my favorite chapters are the ones from the perspective of the house. I love learning more about the Baba Yaga and just the cultural and familial ties of everyone in the family. I'm just really invested. So anyway, I'm gonna read more. My goal again was to get over 200 pages, so let's get to it. Hello friends, good morning. I am back from my walk and I owe a reading update. I wonder, can you see Matilda? I have to show you Matilda. Look at her. Look at this little creature. Look at her. Starting off, I just want to quickly mention I did listen to 2 chapters of Cibola Burn on my walk this morning. I listened to the audiobook. I'm really enjoying this. I'm kind of switching off between listening and physically reading. This book reads so fast and the chapters are really short. It really makes like a good audiobook experience. I'm hoping to finish this maybe this weekend because I am actually like very interested in the story, but I keep deprioritizing it for other books like Thistlefoot, which I have read 270 pages, 275 pages of this. I'm hopeful to maybe finish this book today. That would be ideal. And I'm really enjoying this story. I feel like it's got a good combination of things going for it. I feel like I've spoken a lot to like the folklore legacy of the story, and a lot of this book is also about like family heritage. We're learning a lot about the past of this house, the family that was connected to it initially, and how that's tying into the siblings in present day. This book is honestly pretty intense. Like, we're watching these siblings travel through the United States and they're being kind of tracked by this mysterious man made of shadows who's also like poisoning and transforming people into monsters as he goes along. Why he's after them is unclear, but it seems to be tied maybe to the history of this house. A large part of this book also, though, is very much about the siblings themselves. They have a very complicated relationship. They haven't seen each other in a long time. There's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of misunderstanding between them. They both kind of view the other as like a more freer version of themselves without really understanding each other's individual struggles. And like, if they just communicated and they just like reconnected, they might be able to see each other more as like full people instead of this sort of perception that they have had of the other for like so long, this caricature. So I think the growth of their relationship has been really interesting and it has not been rushed at all. I think the complicated nature of sibling relationships, especially when there's been like broken trust and distance, it's sometimes can be like healed quickly, but there's a lot of resentment that takes a lot of time to kind of unpack. It's also been interesting because these 2 siblings are so different from one another. They very clearly have had different responses to different triggers in their life. Valentine is very controlled, very reserved. A lot of this has to do with her magic and the fear that she has around her magic, versus Isaac is so go with the flow, so loose, so fearful of making any lasting connection. And you can see how they're both like burrowing because they don't want to be hurt, but it's interesting about how they're kind of reacting to that fear very differently. And I don't know, seeing them kind of come back into each other's lives and honestly push each other in different ways, I think has been really interesting. There's also like other side characters as well, which have been introduced, I think, really successfully. There's kind of this group of mercenaries, let's call them, who have been tracking this Long Shadow, the evil guy, and they're obviously working with the siblings. And then there's kind of a magical entity that's entered the game, which I'm really liking too. I feel like this book balances like the drama, the thriller element of this book, which definitely exists. Like, there's a clear villain, there's a clear problem, there's a clear question mark happening behind the scenes, but there's also like great character moments as well. And I think like everything is wrapped up in great ambiance and atmosphere, and it's just creating a really engaging book. Like, really great character dialogue, really interesting plot, really interesting history and legacy where it's all tied to. So I have I think I have about 150 pages left of this book. I want to finish it today, perhaps by tonight. I'm gonna try to read more this afternoon. I do have, it's so silly right now. I do have work I need to get done. I woke up early to go on a walk and to get some reading in, which was so nice. I feel like people are daylight savings haters, but I actually love daylight savings because I hate when it's super dark in the morning. Obviously, if you live in the north, it's dark in the morning and dark at night, like you just can't escape it. But here, the sun rises again at 6:30, which before daylight savings, it wasn't rising until like almost 8 a.m. and I was losing my mind. I was sleeping too much. I didn't like it. So I like daylight savings. I don't mind it getting darker at night, especially if the sun is going to rise earlier in the morning so I can get my day started and productive. Woke up early, went for a walk, read like 100 pages. You know, it just feels good to do that before getting the work in. So I'm gonna go do that now. Also, isn't my new sweatshirt so cute? It's like this cropped polo sweatshirt. Anyway, that's my update. Look at this silly creature. She's so cozy. She's so comfortable. Will she ever be able to move again? Unclear. Lunch is done. I already ate one of my eggs, but bon appetit. Matilda being quantifiably the best girl, but I've wrapped up work for the day. It's feeling very cozy in this room. I'm gonna read more Thistlefoot. Again, my goal is to finish this tonight and start my second book tomorrow. Sometimes life calls for udon and other noodles and Matilda trying to steal food instead of cooking. Hi friends, good morning. Actually more like good afternoon. I wanted to check in because I have a reading update for you, and that is I finished Thistlefoot. All in all, I really liked this book. I really do feel like the combination of all of the different influences worked really well. And yeah, I don't know, it really felt like modern folklore with obviously historical folklore mixed in. It was a really interesting story, and I do feel like it culminated into a rather explosive ending that had a lot of emotional payoff. So I read this pretty quickly. It is, I want to say 430 pages, so I'm happy I was able to get this read over the course of this week. 435 pages, which means from there I want to pick up The Hand of the Sun King, which is like kind of falling apart. This paperback is kind of all the glue that's holding the pages together is like not doing a great job, but I'm looking forward to this book because I've heard such great things about it, and a lot of people have said that it's a book that they think I'm really going to enjoy. It basically follows our main character Adler, and he lives in a fantasy world where there's this like empire that has colonized and taken over a lot of places. In this empire, there's a lot of bureaucracy. Basically, you can take an examination. If you do really well, you can possibly become a hand of the emperor. And by becoming a hand, they basically grant you, or he grants, or the emperor grants, whoever that is, power to the hands to be able to do the emperor's bidding across the land. We follow our main character who has been training his whole life to kind of follow this life path. Specifically, his father has a lot of expectations on him to kind of become a part of this Siamese empire and follow the path that he did and become involved with this. But on the other side of this, he also has the legacy of his mother and his grandmother, which is more wild magic, powerful magic, and they're actually a land and a group of people that have been colonized by this empire. So he's been raised on stories of the empire, but also from his grandmother's people as well, and these things are obviously conflicting. He's also kind of reached a point in his life where he is kind of needing to make decisions about like which direction he wants to go, which aspect of which culture he wants to embrace, and kind of begin that next stage of his life. I am really curious about this. Again, I've heard really good things from people whom we have very similar tastes in books, so I have high expectations for this. I'm hoping I'll be able to read it quickly too. It's not super long. I think it's like 350 pages. So I'm hoping to like read it, get it read, and then move on to the next read of my very long TBR for the month. But that is the plan. Coming in here to join Matilda, and I'm going to sit down and start this book. It is time for a coffee break, and I'm going to continue reading. Hi friends, and welcome to the end of the vlog. I'm sorry, I feel like this vlog was a little chaotic accidentally. But I'm happy to report I did get a good amount through The Hand of the Sun King, and because I haven't done any updates, I'll do that now. So this follows our main character, Adler, and he, again, is sort of raised in a household with his father and his mother, and he's sort of torn between two worlds. This book is very interesting so far. I really like the concept of this world politically. This huge empire with very colonial interests, taking over other territories, absorbing them. And they're kind of selling this concept of anyone can take this exam and become a part of this bureaucracy and become powerful, gain magic, be a hand to the emperor. We follow our main character who initially feels like this path of assimilation is for him. He was raised for this path, but he was also in his childhood introduced to his mother's peoples, like magic and folklore and history and religion. And he's always been sort of marked as other as well in this world because his blood is not fully Siamese. Given this, our main character sort of feels stuck between two worlds, and he's battling internally with where he wants to be, where he feels like he belongs. He's never really necessarily fully accepted into either place. This book is definitely pretty political. There's not a lot of action. It's much more from the standpoint of like politicking, war planning, like larger scale concepts. And I think Adler is likable. I think he is young, he's naive, but overall he has like a good heart. And he's going through like a variety of very difficult things. So far, I am interested in this book. I wouldn't say it's like blowing me away. I think the concepts I definitely like. It has really continued to fall apart, but luckily I haven't lost my place so far. I for sure think I'm gonna be able to finish this very, very quickly. But I'm curious if I would say it's like a new all-time fave. Like right now it's kind of sitting staunchly in the middle for me. It's like I like everything I see, but I feel like I've read other stories with these types of concepts, which I love, that are better. Like I can't help but think of The Traitor Baru Cormorant, which is just amazing when I'm reading this book. Anyway, all that to say, I'm liking it. I did read 150 pages of this, which put me about 1/3 of the way through. And then obviously, as I've already mentioned, I have finished Thistlefoot, which I really enjoyed. This was an interesting like modern folklore fairy tale. I've gone on and on about it, but I feel like the atmosphere, the characters, the sibling relationship, and just the overall vibe of this was very effective. If you love like atmospheric, again, folklore, mythology leaning stories, this is a great book to pick up and definitely for you if you like that kind of thing. But yeah, all in all, I would say this was a very successful reading vlog. I liked both of these very much, which is exciting. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.